Hello and welcome to this episode of my tutorial video series. The subject of this video is economics and the topic is price consumption curves of normal commodity and given commodity. We know the law of demand states that when price of a commodity falls, quantity demanded increases, and when price increases, quantity demanded false with ceteris paribus assumptions, that is the assumptions of other things remaining unchanged. That is the reason we get downward sloping demand curve. A downward sloping demand curve shows inverse relationship between price of a commodity and quantity demanded for that commodity. D dash is the demand curve. On y-axis we measure price of the commodity, and on x-axis we measure quantity consumed. So we see as price is falling from say P1 to P2, quantity demanded is increasing from OX1 to OX2. That is the reason demand curve is downward sloping. Okay. Now this is the demand curve's shape for normal commodities. Price is falling and quantity demanded is increasing, other things remaining same. This is the law of demand. Now normal commodities follow this law. The commodity that does not follow this law is called Giffen good. Now we shall draw two diagrams, one for normal commodity, another for Giffen commodity. Before that, price consumption curve or PCC means the curve that traces the effect of changes in consumption of one commodity with respect to change in price of that commodity. That means when the price of a commodity falls, how the consumer reacts by consuming that commodity. Okay, so the effect of change in price of a commodity on the consumption of that commodity is known as price effect, and the curve that traces this effect is known as price consumption curve or PCC. Now this is for normal commodity and this one is for a given good. On x-axis we measure quantity of X, and on y-axis we measure quantity of Y. Suppose the initial budget line of the consumer is PL1 and the consumer is in equilibrium at the point of tangency between IC1 and PL1 at this point. Say this is A, point A. As price of X falls, price of Y and money income of the consumer remaining unchanged, the slope of price line will change and the new price line will be like this. Say this is L2. PL2 is the new price line with fall in price of X. Remember, only slope of the price line will change because there has been no change in the price of Y. Now with the new budget line, as a result of fall in price of X, the consumer's real income has increased As a result, his purchasing power has increased. So the consumer will increase his satisfaction level by moving to a higher indifference curve, say IC2. With the new budget line PL2 and new indifference curve IC2, the new equilibrium point of the consumer is, say, B. This is B. Okay. Again, as price of X falls, price of Y and income of the consumer remaining unchanged, the slope of the price line again changes to PL2. You see, these are the changes in slope of the budget line. Sorry, this is L3. Now, as price of X has fallen without any change in price of Y and money income of the consumer's real income has increased, which has increased the consumer's purchasing power, and with that increased purchasing power, the consumer will try to increase the satisfaction level and he will move to higher indifference curve, say IC3. And the new point of tangency is, say, C. Okay. Now, at point A, the consumer was consuming, say, X1 units of X. At point B, the consumer is consuming X2 units. And at point C, the consumer is consuming X3 units. Now, if we join these points of tangency, we get price consumption curve. Now notice, as price of X falls, the consumer is increasing the consumption of X. That means here the law of demand is being followed. Fall in price is reacted by increase in consumption of that commodity. That is why the price consumption curve is upward sloping. This is the shape of price consumption curve for normal commodity. When, as a result of fall in price of a commodity, the consumer increases consumption of that commodity. Now, let us draw the diagram for the Giffen good. Suppose BL1 is the initial budget line and the consumer was in equilibrium, say at point say R. Now, as price of X falls, the new price line becomes PL2. Right? Here, the consumer is in equilibrium at IC2 at the tendency point, say S. Correct? Now, with further fall in price of X, the consumer moves to further higher indifference curve as a result of increase in his real income, say IC3. Here the consumer is in equilibrium at the point of tendency, say T. Correct? Now you see, here the consumer was consuming X1 units of X. as price of X falls, consumption of X slightly increases, say X2. And as a result of further fall in price of X, and as the consumer moves to PL3, budget line PL3 and indifference curve IC3, and he is in equilibrium at the point of tangency T between IC3 and PL3. Here you see the consumer is decreasing his consumption. OX3 is less than OX2. Correct? So as a result of fall in price of X, without any change in price of Y and money income of the consumer, after a certain fall in price of X, the consumer is decreasing his consumption of X. That means here the law of demand is violated. Now if we join these points of tangency, we'll get a curve like this. This is PCC. The line, the curve joining R, S and T is the price consumption curve of a Giffen good. You see, when X is a Giffen good and we are considering the effect of change in price of X, in this case considered fall in price of X on purchase of X, and we see after a certain fall in price of X, the consumer is decreasing his consumption of X. That is why the price consumption curve becomes a backward bending, leftward bending curve towards the y-axis. The curve starts from here. After R, it slightly goes to right, and after this point, after S, that is as the consumer moves to BL3, the curve become leftward bent. So when X is the Giffen good and we are considering the effect of fall in price of X on consumption of X, the price consumption curve will be leftward bent towards the y-axis. So this is the difference between the shapes of PCC between normal commodity and Giffen commodity. In case of normal commodity, the law of demand is followed, and in case of Giffen good, the law of demand is violated. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So this is enough for this video. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please like our channel. Please do subscribe our channel. Please be in touch through the comment box. Please send your comments, your suggestions, your queries, etc. Those will enrich us and will motivate us to provide better videos and more purpose specific videos. Okay. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and stay well.